foreigner who had some say about people's lives. But of course I loved it because that was Festac, 1976. But I didn't go to Nigeria. I felt that ticket should go to a Kenyan. Ever since then, the 70s, I have been following theater. But, you know, as I say, when the school's drama festival, you know, you graduate, where would you go? You had to get a job like a lawyer or a doctor, accountant, or you'd be jobless. Yeah? So we've seen that people are now starting to actually get a living wage in theater, which is wonderful. Oh yes, I think so. I mean, Kenyans are too kind to foreigners, you know. And of course, now that I have this issue with my breathing, people are especially considerate. I don't know, it's because they've been brought up by their mothers and fathers to be courteous, but a lot of Kenyans I know are very sweet and very thoughtful to me. When I was at university, I got some hostility, especially when we were out in the field, and all the audience would, you know, climb trees so they could see the mzungu, you know, on stage. Some of them had never seen a mzungu. So that generated a bit of jealousy, and people were not happy. But I have tried to distinguish myself from a colonial, and I think I've done that by living among Kenyan people, participating in what they do. My Swahili is not brilliant, but yes, yes. The one play? Oh gosh. Well, I think just recently Stuart Nash did I'll Marry When I Want, which was Ngugi's play, the one that, the one that he wrote, but you know, that was the real turning point for me. I mean, I think it was great because Ngugi is still alive, and we were able to thrill him with the restaging because it hadn't been done in all these years. No. In fact, I never let my face be seen, not until Facebook. Facebook demolished my, yes, they just knew this is Wa Gacheru, because there was a Gacheru. And that, you know, that was my privilege. I really don't feel, I know I'm very clear, I'm not a Kenyan, but to think of myself as a foreigner, I've been here, as I say, I came in 1974, and I've been around, and I've witnessed a lot, and feel very privileged, because I think I've watched the development of theater in the universities. I mean, KU didn't used to have a theater department. University of Nairobi didn't have a theater department. All of these universities didn't. So it's wonderful to see them emerging. Yeah, yeah. No. On occasion, there are some wonderful performances. And I think I've seen them in the past couple of years, and I do feel that the Kit Fest has inspired people to write, to polish up their performance skills. Someone like Wakio is a marvelous actress. Martin Kigondo is a brilliant actor. So there are some really world-class performers, but I wouldn't say generally it's there. There's a lot to learn. And unfortunately, companies tend to stick with each other and they don't look around and see what everybody else is doing to improve. So I think Kit Fest was running some workshops, and I think that many Kenyans would benefit from those kind of workshops in directing, acting, producing. But I think film is also moving forward very rapidly. And I think the best actors in film are those who have come from theater, because they learn the skills of how to act. Yeah. Oh, I have always felt that Kenya could be, we have Broadway in America. We have the West End in London. And I feel Kenya could be the equivalent of the West End or Broadway for Africa. Not just East Africa, but Africa. Because I do think that the potential is here, and the love of theater. Because I think, I call it a bug, the theater bug. When it bites people, they're gone. They're gone. Because theater is so exciting. And I think that increasingly some very good talents are emerging. I won't say more names, but I can pinpoint them, both men and women, who are really wonderful, disciplined. My only problem with Kenya theater is time management. People they don't mind starting a show a half hour late, even an hour late. They don't realize that in the West, whatever criticism you may have, if it says that a show is starting at 7, it starts at 7. Kenyans don't do that. So I think time management is one of the biggest issues that Kenyans have to learn. Yeah. Oh, listen. They must listen to and watch. Go to theater. See what other people are doing. Learn from them. And keep an open mind. And never assume that you have arrived. Because there's always, we are small fish. And we are big fish in a small pond. Yeah. And the world is very large. And Kenyans have the capacity. Really, they do. Yeah. How do I feel about being the face? Well, what I've seen before is usually it's a person who has passed on to be the face. And I'm not moving anywhere, so I laughed when they asked me to be the face. But I love my green face, and I love Kit Fest, and I'm happy that it's happening. And it's a pleasure. It's a privilege. Yes. Yes, of course. Yes, I want to know what Kenyans are going to be performing, because Kevin and his crew have interested lots of internationals to come, but we want to have an audience, and we want to see Kenyan theater also. We want them to see Kenyan theater. because Kenyans are really, they are international. They're prepared. Yeah. Yeah? Tosha?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Okay.
Yeah, this is for having you on.
I hope this was sufficient.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, it was.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Wow, what beautiful. If your neighbor is tearing up, mwambie ni sawa tu, ni sawa tu. I want to take a moment to engage with you, our audience, because we recognize not everyone will have an opportunity to come up on stage. And so if you want to make a comment or a realization that you made, and where's Martin? Martin was mentioned. Hey, Martin, Kigando, ladies and gentlemen. So I want to welcome anyone from this side. If you want to make a comment on the video or just say something, this is your opportunity to do so. Anyone who just want to shoot up your hand and say something, guys?
In case.
My side is the cool side.
Well,
This is the best side of the today's.
yeah, we're doing that.
Yeah, we're doing it.
I have stars on this side, so.
It's not about being star. It's about being humble.
Do you know? Yeah, by then
Following
you're
the
right.
process.
You're right. I have someone here.
Go for it.
Fantastic. And I'm looking at him, and he's looking away. And I looked at him the moment Margaretta said about keeping time. Well, this one tried. He kept time. He kept time. Peter Kawa. Peter Kawa and I met doing traveling theater. So I've just discovered that Margaretta too did traveling theater. Do you guys know traveling theater? How many of us know traveling theater? A good number, right? Well, for those who aren't familiar, traveling theater, as she shared, is when you get on a bus, travel the country, and perform. It's now mostly known for set books, but clearly she did it in campus as well. So, Peter Kawa, depending on the time you came in, what have you just discovered new about Margaretta?
I came in when a lady on stage, I think she's also called Margaret. And one of the things that really stood out for me is when she said Margaretta cared not just about your artistic angle, but she also cared about you and your family. And she held on to that even during her last hours. And we are grateful for that.
Thank you. A round of applause for Peter Kawa.
You know what? This is so interesting. I also have a Peter.
Right next to you.
Peters are winning. Maybe I should marry a Peter. And then we also have to have a lady. So
That would be
gender
nice.
balance. Peter, what do you want to say?
My name is Peter Maina, a staff at the Kenya Cultural Center, incorporating the Kenya National Theatre. What I have learned about the story and the video I've watched is that if you want to have something you've never had, you've got to do something you've never done. And if you get to do this something, do it like there is no tomorrow. This lady has inspired me to continue doing my best in the area that I am, and I do it like there is no other person that can do it better than me. Thank you.
So good. Okay, did you get a lady?
Yes, that would be
Okay, well
nice.
done. But I'm coming here for a guy who I can't leave. Yafesi Musoke is in the
good.
building. So I have to go for him. So you finish with the lady. I'll go to Uganda for a minute, and then we'll wind up this moment.
Fantastic. Now, the problem is every lady I'm looking at is looking away. I don't know if it's because...
It's a sign. When a guy looks at me and I look away,
Yeah.
I want him.
Hello. Hello. I don't know where to start. Good. Fantastic. Good. Someone who was mentioned as a definite star here, Wakio Mzenge. I know you'll be performing in a bit, but what new thing did you just discover about Margaretta? Karibu.
I think when you said that she spread herself thin, now I realize that she was gossiping with all of us.
You are special.
Thank
Okay,
you, Wakio.
I love it. Yafesi.
Sahi pressure. Anyway, so hi. Now most of us interacted, well, we first interacted with her after seeing a review in an article, whether it's Business Daily or whichever publication, of a production that we had done. And so the impression sometimes is that she just comes, and sits in the front row, watches your finished product, and then writes her review. But recently, the last stage production that I did here at the Kenya National Theatre, she actually came and attended our rehearsals. And when there was something that she was not sure about in the rehearsal, because she tried to come when you've got most of your lines, she'd ask the director, what's meant to happen here? Is this going to be changed by this and that and that? So when she gets the full picture, then comes and watches the final production, it shows why her articles had a lot more empathy towards the artists, towards the performers. And we really, really appreciated that about her. She had a lot of empathy and care for us as performers. Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much,
A round of applause for Yafesi.
And everyone who has interacted with us. Have we closed anyone out? You had a chance to shoot your hand up.
Kerry.
Oh, right there at the front. Sorry.
I'm right here.
Sorry.
I couldn't miss this opportunity to hear a word from Julissa. Julissa, any new discovery?
Hi, Julissa.
Hi, Carrie. I appreciated Margaretta so much in her commitment to be at every show, to say something constructive about everything that happened. And in her commitment, this is a woman who came to our show of Pilot last year with a broken pelvis, 2 floors up, being carried. And I said, Margaretta, you do not need to come to our show. She says, no, I have to be there. But you have a broken pelvis. No, I'm still coming. Her commitment went that far for it. And I loved reading her articles. And, you know, I've been to some of the same shows. It's like, wow, that show was really bad. And yet she had so many positive things to say in such a kind way, too. It's like, well, you know, it was a little bit confusing there, but you know what was great about it was this. And I think that was so encouraging to the industry to read between the lines and say, yeah, you can improve in this, but you are doing great things. She will be tremendously missed.
Absolutely. Let's wind it down over here right at the front. We just wanted to spend a moment with you just to recognize everyone who chose to come out today and might not have a chance to stand on stage and give a tribute. So it's your time.
My name is Dr. Susan Gitimo. I speak on behalf of women filmmakers in Kenya. Margaretta Gacheru was our great supporter. Every time when we have an award, she would call, she would inquire, how is it going with the women filmmakers? And we are so honored. She has promoted us, and we will forever remember her.
Thank you very much.
Lovely. Thank you, Dr.
Good. Now, let's keep going with the program. For the next speaker, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome, representing the media team, the journalist community, we have from the Nation Media Group, Diana Mwango. Kindly come forward, and as she does, I'd also like to ask Liboy to stand on by. Welcome.
Wow, and I am so certain that those are the same words that Margaretta would have used to describe this moment, because this is beautiful. And I genuinely thank you for just showing up for Margaretta in this big scale. Margaretta was more than a colleague to us. Margaretta was a friend to us. We have known Margaretta for many, many, many years. But before I give my tribute on behalf of Nation Media Group, I wish to introduce Kimani wa Wanjiku, who had also worked with Margaretta as a journalist. And actually, this is my first time being here at KNT. Yeah, I know. I have heard someone say what? You know, we are those groups of people who came to Nairobi for further studies. Yeah, a few years ago, so we didn't have the pleasure of coming to watch theater performances over the weekends. But we get to be introduced to theater through Margaretta. I have learned so much about different plays, different exhibitions, different artists. I learned and admired people like Dr. Zipi, Wakio, Nice Githinja. Even imagine that I'm watching her shows just through Margaretta's writing. So as I stand here, and every single time Margaretta used to tell me, oh, come, we'll go and watch shows at KNT. But also the reason why I wasn't coming is because Margaretta was meticulous at her work. So I didn't necessarily have to come and see what she's writing about, because even if I don't come for the show, Margaretta will write exactly how the show was. So I got a glimpse of the theater, the performances, the people. I could even picture them before even I look at their photos, because Margaretta was that good at her work. So Kimani?
Thank you, Diana. Habari za jioni. Thank you very much for coming to honor Margaretta. My name is Sani Kimani wa Gacheru, and have known Margaretta for many years at many levels, just like many of you. First, as an artist, when we were working with our theater group, Theater Workshop Productions, with some of the names that Agan had articulated, Shai Mwangola, Agan himself, Obi Obirodhiambo, and so many others. When we used to organize the Harvest of Plays, and within it we had the award ceremony too for recognizing young talent in Kenya, playwrights, through the Okoth Kobonyo Playwright Competition. And that in itself triggers memories for very, very many people who were here. And I'm happy that through the video also, she was able to take us through the journey of the changing faces of the Kenyan art scene. Later on, I met her as a journalist, an arts journalist, because my friend and really, really big brother in the arts, Obi Obirodhiambo, had introduced, he had gotten an opportunity to write about theater in the Standard newspaper. That's after Eva Ndavu, for most of you will remember, retired from writing in theater in the Standard. And he passed on the opportunity to me. And so I started writing about theater for the East African Standard. And this is where I also learned that arts journalism in this country is a labor of love, because you get to read what the journalists write, but you probably also don't get to know the pain that they go through in the newsroom. Not everyone knows the power of the arts, and so arts is often passed on to a cab writer, an intern, and told, okay, yeah, there's an exhibition opening at the Goethe Institute or at Banana, go and give us an article. And so probably this is somebody who is going to experience a painting or a sculpture for the first time when they go to the Goethe Institute, or when they go to the Phoenix to watch Ian and and team in theater. So you are thrown in the deep end, and so you learn the ropes of art criticism as you move along. And so I was privileged to work with her, first covering the theaters, but more importantly also, like I said, when you're in the newsroom and you are labeled that you write about the arts, so everything art is thrown your way. So the next thing is, oh yeah, there is a movie opening, go and give us an article about that. There is a show opening at Mujiza Players, go give us something. There is a book that has come out, there's a book launch happening at the Serena, give us an article there. So you become a jack of all trades, and you must have also realized or experienced that, the proficiency at which Margaretta wrote a cross-section of all the various art genres. And we interacted with her also when, would write about film. And I'm happy that she had space for film writers, as recognized recently. So we would go on Mondays for film reviews. Probably the younger generation will not realize this, but there used to be movie halls in town in 20th century, Kenya Cinema, Nairobi Cinema, and a number of them. And when there were big office shows opening in Kenya, the media guys would get the privilege of going to watch them and review them before the opening night. And we would go to a small studio on the side of Kenya Cinema, where Kenya Cinema is right now, and do the reviews from there. And even after the movies would, get to talk about the arts. And so I've had the privilege of knowing her for a very long time. And like I said, you end up or get to write about everything and anything in the arts. But I'm happy that one is able to define an area of where their passion is. And for Margaretta, it was the visual arts and theater. And she has, propelled that space in so many ways. And I mean, like every speaker who was talked before and many others who will talk after this will attest that she had her way in theater and the visual artist. And one thing, like many people here will share, is that she was friendly. She was a friend to everyone, and so the same thing with us in the arts journalism. She helped work. She supported young artists, arts journalists, and when we met some times back, and she was asking, "Oh, so Msanii, what are you doing? Are you still writing about theater?" I told her, like you, I'm trying to find new space of the art space in Kenya that has not been adequately highlighted, because I had started writing about cartoons, comics, and graphic novels in Kenya. And her face lit when we were talking about that, because even in that space also she has contributed and worked with many people. She had worked with Mado way back in 1984 when she was a contributor to Viva magazine and Men Only. She worked with Gado and really was instrumental in Gado going to Venice to study animation. And so she has many worked with very many people. I'm happy to see that Dr. Peter Kimani is in the house, and they worked closely at the Nation Media Group. And all these are people who hold a special, Margaretta holds a special place for all of them. Go well, Margaretta, rest in peace. And please, like I said on my Facebook, when I learned that she had passed, she'll probably keep on writing about the arts, about the Kenyan artists who have gone. Ansen Soy, Soy is here in the house. I'm happy to see him here. And many others. And like I was saying also, venture even to writing about the earlier artists in the region and so on. Fare thee well, Margaretta. Rest in peace.
Thank you so much, Kimani. And as Kimani said, genuinely for Margaretta, it was a labor of love. Because you could imagine during the art auctions used to happen at night, and we will have the story in the morning. Margaretta will work through the night, because I'm also on night hall. At 2 a.m., we'll be chatting with Margaretta, and I'm asking her, "Are you home yet?" And she says, "No." So I got to know, we got to have the very best of the articles from art and East Africa, and we got to have the very best, and also highlighting what Kenya and East Africa is doing in terms of art and theater, just because of Margaretta. Now I wish to welcome Mochama, Tony Mochama, who Margaretta also supported and worked with. Tony Mochama is a colleague of mine and very passionate about theater. I can actually see interesting faces that I used to edit and say, I don't know if I could be wrong, Geraldine Roberts. I loved most of her pieces just because of what Margaretta wrote about them, but just by looking at them, she introduced us. She made us actually fall in love with art and theater, and some of us who necessarily weren't in love with it before.
I know it's a sad occasion, but I'll try to be brief and entertaining. Thank you to my boss. I call her Lady D, or the Zarina of theater and all other things interesting. I'll start by saying that I was here on the last day of Margaretta's. Sorry, I used to call her Margarita. But I was here on the last day when she came for the Kit Fest, for the changing of her face, which I find fantastically poetic in the sense that she gave up her face to John C.B. Okumu, and she began passing away the next day. And she was seated right there where you are seated, and I was seated just behind, where you two are seated. Margaretta never learned about Kenyan time. I usually tell any Mzungu friends, should just be at shows early. Like if it says 7, she's there like 6:45. But she had been here for so long. That's fine if you're a Mzungu who's been here for a short time, but you know shows will start like half an hour late. So that the audience comes in, the Kenyan audience. And Margaretta never learned this for 50 years. She'd just be there early. And I recall when I first met her, when I was first year, I was in law school, but I was ever hanging out with Wakina Mado at the Kenya National Theatre, at the bar upstairs. I remember that Margaretta looked to me like a crazy Bugs Bunny. She was always on the move. Like she's going to a show. So like on a Saturday, you attend one show, Heartstrings, and then she's like, what are you doing after this? There's another show somewhere, and you're like, I'm watching Chelsea play. Yeah? So she was a mono-obsessive, which is, I think, a fantastic thing. And I have to thank, right now, I've seen the Gute director, and the director, and Asita Waters, and Christina Nod, because these are the spaces I first met Margaretta 25 years ago as a very young person. And I'm very happy that those spaces are still going. And I hope our government is catching up, because it's always a bit strange that there's this, Euro spaces, which is a fantastic thing that keeps our culture going all the time. So I'll just do a brief poem now. And just before I do that poem, for the media, I'll say, Diana, thank you always for the spaces that you're expanding within arts and culture, because part of Kenya's problem is we don't do culture enough. We have got a hustling culture. This leads nations nowhere. You need people of passion. Money is not a passion. It's an outcome. Even the richest people on earth, Musk, they're obsessed about space and electric cars. We cannot become this consumerist society obsessed about the means instead of creating things which are political class. It's part of a ruination right now. So I'll just quickly acknowledge Peter Ndoria. Peter Ndoria, whom we worked with at the Standard, just to show he was very passionate about, even within Pulse magazine, about how we represent lifestyles and so on for millennials and so on. We need to define Gen Z soon, even as they define themselves in other spaces. People like Gloria Mondi, who has just won some huge scholarship to Concordia University in Canada, but is still very passionate about the arts. And geniuses like Mado. I don't know if you ever drew Margaretta wa Gacheru, but here's a poem I wrote about today at the Macmillan Library. It's called Margaretta at the Theatre. The last time I saw Margaretta wa Gacheru was right here at the front row of the Kenya National Theatre, trying to catch her last breath, right there, as on stage at the Kit Fest. Someone showed her red head silhouette and her green face as their 2023 Kitfest face, fading into 2024 into John C.B. Okumu. I'll briefly stop here and order Swigat. That's a kind of sweet margarita. The first time I saw Margaretta wa Gacheru was right there across the road at the Goethe Institute. You hear that, Christina? I was a first-year rookie. She was already an arts veteran. 25 years, quarter century, already writing about the theater in this country of perennial noon. And she was moving fast in between Goethe and Asita Waters' Alliance Francaise. She was a halfway franchise always. It was 1998 going on 99. I'll briefly stop here and order another margarita. If time is a swill of wine, then Margaretta was a margarita. She was rock on sculptors. She was liquid acrylic paintings. She was string puppet. She was the hardwood of our theater. She was the soft pulp of book reviews. And I still treasure the one she did on my last mail bet book, 2063, back in 2018, ending with Morgan and Mochama, They Are Ready for Whatever, Forever, at the IMAX Cinema Theater, then owned by a Ukrainian gangster called Alexei Sarkov. She said, "What are you doing hanging out with Russian gangsters?" I said, "He's Ukrainian." I'll stop here and order vodka, a margarita. When she got out of bed that last Saturday, the world had changed. A 55-year lady boomer in a Gen Z world, life dripping away in tubes, Margaretta going strong like YouTube. She whitened the theater on stage. There was a musician here called Ingo going on about a eulogy to Ugali. Who does that? Only a lawyer. I'll stop there and order Swigat. That's a type of sweet margarita. When she wrote about theater, the stage became clear. Celestial performances, forever captured in ink iron, a class act. Yet when her feet stalled, her pen refused to falter. And when she did an art review, nobody could falter. I'll briefly stop here and order another margarita. Margaretta had more magic in her typewriter fingers than the length and breadth of any theater in Kenya, weaving wonderful summations in the weekly newspapers. Sweet smiling Swigat. I'll briefly stop here and order Margarita. She shaped the theater. She elevated Kenyan art. She had a knack with words. She knew how to do everything. Thing is, you've just got to have a passion, capture a phrase. What painters try to catch, what writers do in a stampede of sentences. I like to think that Margaretta was some kind of poetic critic. The last time I saw her, I asked her if she was going for the Tomboya play the following day. She'd go to the hospital for the last time that Sunday. Too early for birds, she whispered. Too late for worms, I panned. I'll briefly stop here and order another margarita, knowing full well Wasanii has run out of margaritas. The curtain has come down on this class act. This set has changed. Her swan song is sadly sung, and that there will never, ever be another Margaretta. I'll stop here, there, in this theater, dear Margaretta, and welcome back, Diana.
No, I don't know how to do poems. Mochama, I do not know how to do poems. I don't know how I'm going to match up. But as Mochama said, you know, art and theater are sort of like a preserve of very few readers. But through Margaretta's writing, we got actually to push for some of our articles to be on a front page. I don't know if you guys know how hard it is for your story to appear on a front page. So for me to have to convince a team of many other editors, including the managing editor, that actually this art article requires to be on a front page. It just required a little bit of, you know, Margaretta proved to us that art is worth reading, because even our articles, you could see the number of interactions that they had. Every single week we had different kinds of articles. And we have worked with Margaretta for a very long time. We loved her more than a colleague, actually. I remember the first time when she used to work from the office. We used to be among the last people to leave the office. Margaretta would leave at around 11, and there we're leaving at around 12. And she would buy this packet of milk when she used to live in Kariobangi South. And I'd ask Margaretta, surely, Margaretta, why are you buying one packet of milk? And she'll say, I'll drink half, and half is for this packer my neighbor's paka, then the paka will drink half. And then the next day again, Margaretta will buy 1 packet. And I will keep on asking Margaretta, surely, can't you just buy a whole box? And as Muchama said also, she used to go for different shows, many shows. I'd call Margaretta when she got unwell and she's coughing. And I tell Margaretta, you're not going anywhere today. She's like, what am I doing in the house? I have this many shows, Diana, to cover. I tell her, Margaretta, just did 1 article. She's like, no, but what will my artists do if I don't cover their stories? That is how passionate she was. And that time she's coughing. I'm like, stay home today. She says, I cannot stay home. I remember the last time when I'd gone to see her in hospital, and she was asking Gitao to give her laptop so that she finishes working on her story, because she was in a show the previous night, and then she got unwell. And then she was asking, give me my laptop so that I can finish the article. Diana is here. I told her, Margaretta, I'm not here because of an article. I am here because I've just come to see you. And actually, I told Gitao that I'll stop calling Margaretta using my number, because every time I call Margaretta, I will feel like I am calling her because she has not submitted the story. But Margaretta, I would sleep knowing that Margaretta will submit the story, whether it is at 3 a.m., 1 a.m. She was that reliable, something that we are struggling as media houses currently, because, you know, we are working with the Gen Zs. They'll tell you they'll deliver and they don't deliver. Margaretta's copy used to come complete with a headline, the photos, and, you know, everything complete, well written. And actually, I remember when I took over as her editor, and there are days when, because the article production goes through many hands, and on Saturdays, because you understand the media, working in the media is quite chaotic. So sometimes Saturday is the only time that you'll get to sleep, maybe perhaps up to 10, and I will get Margaretta's call because someone introduced an error in Margaretta's copy. So that means that whole weekend I won't sleep, because I have to call the online editor or the person who did the story, the photographer or whoever, just to remove that error. And woe unto you if Margaretta's articles don't appear online. She will tell me, Diana, you want to kill me and you want to kill my artists. You don't want the world to know about them. I spent the whole weekend writing about them. Now no one will know about them. Wait until there are few photos put in the article, because she used to take the photos and also write the articles. So because of limitations in space on the newspaper, online gives you an allowance to put many. But because also the newsroom has fewer people and uploading photos sometimes takes a long time, so this person will upload like two photos. And Margaretta will call me on Saturday, Diana, these people of yours, I want you to do every single thing. I'm like, Margaretta, I do not know how to do the rest of the things. But we will make sure that Margaretta's photos and articles appear. And as much as there was limitations in terms of space in the newspaper, Margaretta used to write more than what was required for the paper. So every single time we used to have many articles for art, for theater, for gardening, something that also she was very passionate about, which she introduced me to Orchids and Orchids Society. And I believe genuinely, as Nation Media Group, especially Business Daily, we are the only media house that covers art and theater in that manner. And Margaretta was, that's why I was saying Margaretta was more than just my colleague. She loved my daughter, and she kept on telling me, oh, bring your daughter to come and watch Otis Janam. But most times I was really tired, and I say, I'll come. Another day she told me, give me that girl so that I introduce her to the theater world. So let me give my speech on behalf of my colleagues. Thank you for being here today as we gather to remember and celebrate the life of Margaretta Wa Gacheru, who was very dear to us as Nation Media Group. I don't know if I introduced myself. My name is Diana Mwango. I'm the editor in charge of Lifestyle, and that is where theater and art is covered. Margaretta introduced us to a world that many of us didn't know. The readers globally. We got to know the actresses. We got to get a glimpse into the world of theater. We get to know the likes of Nice Githinji, Dr. Zippy Okoth, who I met outside when she was leaving, Nyokabi Masharia. It's like we felt like we are watching those performances, but yet we were not. We got to know the likes of Patrick Mukabi, Michael Soy, yet we were never in their shoes. through her writing, she transported thousands of our readers to a world where we have never been. I asked many of my colleagues how would want to remember Margaretta. And actually, the whole newsroom, we sort of came to a consensus and summed everything in 4 adjectives, in which I'm certain that most of you will agree with me, that define Margaretta and the kind of person that she was. 1, Margaretta was meticulous. As I had said, we remember the days when she used to work over the weekends and ensure that her copy has no typo. She'll be on time, as Mochama had said. Margaretta was passionate. I don't think there's anyone who was as passionate as Margaretta in terms of writing, art, and theater. I don't think we'll ever have another Margaretta generally to speak about. Even right now, we've been trying to fill up our position. It's a bit challenging because the thing is you need someone who's passionate, who's not after money. Because for Margaretta, it wasn't about money. She wasn't writing art and theater for the money. She was writing it because of the passion. But also she just wanted to exhibit the talent that the people, the Kenyans have, and to the world. Margaretta was tenacious. I remember when these Gitau used to call me and I'd tell Margaretta, I'd ask Gitau where is Margaretta, and says Margaretta is unwell. As someone had said, especially that time when she broke her pelvic, and then I'd tell Margaretta, now you can just rest, you don't have to write. But Margaretta will still write, send Gitau to take the photos, and still send her copy on time and finish her work on time. And I'm assuming most of us, if we were as ill as Margaretta, would have given up very fast. Would have decided we want to cover ourselves in our blankets and cry and wait for our last breath. I remember actually there's a time when I had been diagnosed with cancer, and that's exactly what I was hoping to do, cover myself and hope to die. And one day we were doing a fashion show to raise money for young cancer survivors. And Margaretta told me, I'm going to write your story. I said, no, I don't want people to know about me. And she asked me why. God has given you another chance. I will write about it. That is why when I speak about Margaretta, it is not only that I'm speaking about a colleague, but I'm speaking about someone who felt like my mother, a friend, someone we could talk about parenting teenagers, husbands, and every single thing. Margaretta was kind and witty. And I just want to say thank you so much to KNT for organizing this. This means so much to us that you don't know how. Thank you.
A round of applause, tafadhali. Let's keep it going. Let's keep it going. Ladies and gentlemen, the question is the work yet done? Is it done? Uliza mwenzako, is the work done? No, it's not yet done. We still have so many stories to tell and so much work to do. So in that spirit, I ask all of us to rise.
All rise.
Please rise. Kindly stand. We are transitioning into our second act. So for the second act, how we start is tell your neighbor bado.
Bado.
Look to your left and to your right. Tell them bado.
Bado.
Bado means not yet.
We have a whole audience up there.
It's a full house. It's a full house. Aya, good. So this is how we'll play a little game and stretch a bit, yeah? Aya, put your palms on your thigh, right there. Aya, now that is ba. Let us all say ba.
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 Put your hands here. Bado.
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 Fantastic. Up here. Bado, bado.
Bado, bado.
We got it? Quite simple. Let's go. Ba. Bado. Bado, bado. Bado. Ba. Kweni serious. Kweni serious. Let's take it back. Where was ba? Ba was right here. Sindio? Yeah. Bado. Bado, bado. Super simple, right? Yeah, Margaretta had 6 degrees. Yeah, this is really simple. Let's go for it. Ba. Wow. Wow. Wow.
What's going on?
Wow.
Okay, just do it. Last take. Give us one more chance, right?
One more time. Let's go.
Okay, let's go.
Ba. Ba. Bado. Bado, bado. Bado. Ba. Super simple. Let's go. Ba. Why is it that it's mostly men?
Okay, you know what? We're gonna try it again.
One last time?
But not now. You may have your seats.
Fantastic.
We'll come and try it again. Just keep that in mind and we'll try it again. Remember we asked how many of you have your candles? How many people put their hands up? We're going to wind up this amazing evening with a candle lighting ceremony right outside by the Mugumo area, so please stand by for that. But right now, allow me to welcome this lady. She plays an instrument called the kalimba. You've heard about the kalimba, right? The kalimba is a thumb piano. Is that what it is? Am I embarrassing someone? Okay. But also, she is going to be accompanied by the amazing Komoro, if I said his name correctly, and we want to welcome on stage Liboy.
Good evening. I used to see Margaretta a lot at events, but then this one day, I decided to just go and greet her and say hi. And when I did, she held my hand the entire time we talked, and she told me, "Your voice is so soothing. Can I have your number?" And I said yes. And she wrote it down. I swear, I saw her writing it down on her notebook. Did she ever call me? No. But it's okay, because the words that she exchanged stuck with me. And I can tell that she was a beautiful soul. And so the first piece I'm going to perform, I'm going to request all of us to think of those beautiful moments we shared with Margaretta.
To you, I te very yo. So that's it, I had it, Shepherding.
Margaretta really fought a good fight. And if I can think of anything, strength or strong is the word that comes to mind to describe her well. And so this next song, I pay an ode to this strong woman that inspired us, that worked tirelessly to make sure that the creative sector is better for the young people like me and for women also. So this is Mwanamke. Enjoy. Mikono zangu mwanamke, nashukuru mimi nikisali na kuza upendo na kujali. Vidonda vyangu ndizo pambo mabegani mwangu mwanamke, imara mie nasimama, nafsi yangu yainuka. Nyanya, niangalie macho yangu, utajua mimi sitolepo, ila mimi mwanamke.
dada, niangalie macho yangu, utajua mimi situlepo, ila mimi mwanamke, mimi mwanamke.
Thank you.
Oh, wow.
This is Komora. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Asante sana. Margaretta was right? Yeah, a better round of applause for her. Thank you. So as earlier noted, we are now in the second act, and now that most of us in the audience are professional artists, you know the second act is definitely slightly shorter than the first. So for the speakers who get on stage for the second act, kindly try and be precise. I'm just asking, just try. I know it's a lot. So for this next tribute, I'd like to welcome two practitioners. The first on stage being Claire Wahome, kindly come to the stage as I speak, and the second being Stuart Nash. Claire Wahome is a CEO and producer at Miller's Production, which is one of the most consistent productions in the country. And Stuart Nash, well, you've heard already from Margaretta in her speech, speaking about all the work that he's done. So I'd like to welcome him as soon as Claire is done. Welcome, Claire.
Hello, everyone. I know in a somber mode, but we're in the theater. Hello, everyone. Hi, how are you? So today we're here to celebrate the life of Margaretta, and I'll just request you to do one thing. We're in the arts, and on behalf of the performing arts, practitioners, actors, any artist, I know you'll feel very honored if someone gives you a standing ovation. I'd just like you to stand up and let's give a standing ovation for Margaretta, kindly. Just stand up and let's give her a big round of applause wherever she is. Thank you very much. You can have your seats. Okay, I am short, so this will just cover my face. So if you can be anything in this world, be kind. That was Margaretta. A play exposes the duplicitous nature of personality churches in Kenya. Well, that's the first time I encountered Margaretta's writing. Well, my name is Claire Wahome, the CEO of Miller's Productions Kenya. So most of us at Miller's Productions Kenya, being new in the theater then, were amazed to see this lady walking in with a tube attached to her nose, carrying an oxygen tank with her. We felt sorry, but we were impressed. Impressed that, being relatively new in the industry, we had attracted a Mzungu lady to come and watch our play in 2019. That was Son of a Gitch at the Alliance Francais. That's when our director, then Xavier Nato, came backstage and told us, guys, in the audience we have one of the harshest theater critics. We must give it our very best. Not only is she harsh, but on the flip side, if we deliver well, we stand a chance of getting a positive expose in the media, and this will boost our presence in the theater lovers world. Because of her presence, we did as it is. We broke a leg, or in our case, let's say we broke legs. And what followed was a full-page article in the Business Daily newspaper with the title, Play Exposes Duplicitous Nature of Personality Churches in Kenya. An article that saw us filling up the Kenya National Theatre auditorium later when we decided to stage it. It was not an easy feat. Margaretta literally contributed to our growth. Believe it or not, she never missed any of our plays, or if she would apologize for. Occasionally, we'll bump into her during one of our shows and she will scold us for not telling her on time that we were showcasing a play. She became a loyal supporter, and play after play, she wrote an article about us, watering our popularity as we kept growing. Margaretta never shied of giving her opinions. If she never liked something, she will call you to the side and tell you as it is. Yani alikuwa hivo too. She will be very plain. She was not locked on stage performance, but will also guide us on how to manage ourselves, how to treat our clients, with the punchline, you want them to come back after all, right? Yes. Margaretta became our mother and close to our members. I remember telling her about the passing of one of us, Donwell Odhiambo, the main character in the play Son of a Gitch. She was very sad. Don later on became the face of KidFest 2022, and later on Margaretta became the face of KidFest 2023. All said, Margaretta wa Gacheru has left a mark not only to us as performers in the art industry, but in the creative sector at large. I will miss you, Margaretta. Okay, let me just make this short. My last weekend with her was during the staging of Diverse, the one mainly performed by Ngatia, directed by Nyokafi Masharia, with Martin and Suki where she blew kisses, as Martin said. I was with my good friend Dan. She asked where I was heading to and if she could give me a lift as usual. We were heading towards Thika Road and we accepted. Mind you, the first time meeting my friend, but she was kind enough to say, yes, he can come in. We passed by a Ruby's petrol station to fuel. While there, she asked me if she could buy me ice cream. It had been quite a long time, and I said, okay, why not? She told me to buy the vanilla one, the one that was 180 shillings. And she told me to ensure that they don't overcharge me. Well, I laughed. I mean, it is only 180 shillings, but she nodded and said, make sure they don't overcharge you. She asked my friend if he wanted the same, and he accepted. Gitao mentioned that he wanted juice instead. So she took out 1,000 shillings and she told me, remember to bring back the change, just like a typical mother. Immediately I brought the ice cream. I saw her face lit up. She enjoyed the ice cream so much and she told me to eat up. It will melt. Again, just like her mother. But I listened and enjoyed. She later dropped me off at Mountain Mall as she went home. She told me that I should find some time and visit her for tea one of the evenings. Unfortunately, I didn't get to do that. I'm sorry I didn't get to visit you for coffee, Margaretta, but I do hope you're enjoying your cup of coffee in heaven. I'd like to celebrate Gitao. Gitao, please stand up. Thank you, Gitao. You need to be celebrated in a very special way. I don't know how, but may God bless you so much that you will not be able to recognize. And to celebrate her more, I have a suggestion. Well, Ukumbi Mdogo has a good name, but I think Margaretta has a more beautiful name. Right? I believe you all know where I'm going with this. Yeah? Yes, the CEO. Hi. Thank you, Margaretta, for everything. Rest in paradise, my friend. Thank you. Rest in paradise, our theater mom. We love you, we miss you, and we'll forever hold you in our hearts. Thank you.
Asante sana. And now, ladies and gentlemen, Stuart Nash. Right there is fine, Stuart. Good.
He's on. Only joking. Thanks, Chatin. I owe Margaretta so much. Everyone in this theatre today owes Margaretta so much. Please raise your hand if you've been in a show that Margaretta has reviewed. Not only has Margaretta touched you because she's reviewed your shows, but because she's elevated the theatre industry for all of us. When I first started directing theatre in Kenya, I only knew Margaretta by reputation. She was this crazy Mzungu lady living in Kariobangi South, going everywhere on the back of a piki-piki. The first time I met her, I was called to Nation Centre as she was doing an article on my first show under Nairobi Performing Arts Studio, Jesus Christ Superstar. I left that meeting wondering what sort of article it would be, as she had scribbled away on random pieces of paper, asking me seemingly disconnected questions and jumping from one topic to the next. But what was published was an article, eloquent and perfectly formed. I guess we will never understand the process of the creative mind. She had a seemingly endless source of energy, even coming to our production of Serrano, at Allianz less than a week after having an operation to repair a hip after a fall. No one was expecting her to come, but she was there, being carried from the car to the auditorium as mild panic spread throughout the cast and the crew that she had come. She was also fearless, as we've heard. We are working on a production of Mother Sing For Me by Ngugi wa Thiong'o, and myself, Gadwill and Marvin were rather scared to tell Ngugi that we might want to make a couple of changes. And Margaret said, "I'll do it." So she did. But Margaretta was so much more to me than just a colleague. She was a true friend, mentor, confidant, my go-to person for advice on anything and everything, and my mum in Kenya. I used to go to her house for tea most weeks. And she did love dark chocolate, by the way, Suki, you're right. I remember having tea with her at her house one afternoon at the end of 2022. My dad was in a care home in London and in the latter stages of Alzheimer's. I'd been going through a difficult period with my brother for a week or so because I was here and not helping there. And everything was being left to him to do because we have no other relatives. No grandparents, uncles, aunties or cousins. It's just me and him. I was telling Margaretta about it and she told me to call him there and then to get it sorted out. I resisted at first, thinking, he's just being unreasonable. But she insisted. And after some back and forth, I did call my brother. We talked for nearly an hour in her living room in Garden Estate, sorting out all the issues, as Margaretta made sure the tea and biscuits kept flowing. My dad passed a couple of weeks later, and I don't know what would have happened with my brother and I had Margaretta not intervened. Margaretta was like a mum to me. She used to call and check if I had eaten or how I was doing and ask me how a particular project or show was going and complain I'd not called her or been to see her. She told me I'd got fat at one point and at the same time handing me a packet of chocolate-covered Oreos. We went to the Norfolk Hotel about 9 months ago. I had pizza and she ordered some chicken and chips with KFC. And she sat there picking the outside of anybody who's been to dinner with Margaretta, taking the outside coating of it. And I remember sitting there thinking, my God, we could have been doing this outside KFC and Pizza Inn and saved about $15,000 shillings. She would call at any time, early morning, daytime or night. My phone would ring after midnight or before 7 a.m. sometimes, and I would see it and think, oh my God, what's happened? And I would try to cover it my concern with joviality by saying, hello, Margaretta, but wondering what the problem really was. And she would say, you haven't sent me that cast list yet. It was one of these calls that I received at 6:40 a.m. in the morning on 2 Thursdays ago. And I answered with my usual energetic, hello, Margaretta. But it wasn't Margaretta, it was Gitao. And the next few words he said will stay with me for the rest of my life. He said, it's a very sad day, Stuart. Much like the words that my mother's friend said to me when she died a few years ago in London. I got a call in the morning and I just heard she's gone. But it really hit me last Friday when I walked into my local supermarket. I started walking towards the newspaper stand as I did every Friday to get the Business Daily to see what Margaretta's article would be about this week. But then I stopped to myself and I remembered there'd be no article and there never would be again. Thanks, Margaretta, for everything.
Thank you. Thank you for everything, Margaretta. Hi, guys. We're tracking. We're good? Okay. I'm asking myself, actually. So I want to invite a gentleman who managed to convince Margaretta to join the Rotary Club. This is going to be a very interesting story. So let's have the president of the Rotary Club of Nairobi, Ritesh Barot. This is your time. Would you like to come up and just share? And he will be inviting the rest of this segment. I'll allow you to do the rest of the segment by yourself. This is Mr. Ritesh Barot. Karibu sana. Let's welcome him.
As the chairman comes forward, we'd also like to apologize in advance for the speeches we'll ask to cut short as we go deeper and deeper into the second act. Welcome, Mr. Chairman.
You're so polite. Well done, Martin. Right after that, we'll be having an amazing performance by Wakio Mzenge. So get ready for that. And then we get into a few friends, including people who knew Margaretta before she stepped into the Kenyan soil. So this is the chairman himself. How many Rotarians are in the building? Ooh, wow! Go Rotary!
Sorry, I just want to make one tiny correction whilst they're getting me a seat. No, you're not in trouble. I was chairman a couple of years ago. The current president is Elizabeth Kim Kung. But we do happen to have several members of Rotary Club of Nairobi and Rotary District 9212 present.
Okay. But once a president, always a president. Right?
Exactly.
It just becomes PP, right? Past president. I know something or something about it. Okay.
Isn't it too close? Today I have with me here present past district governor Leonard Idau, who's going to join us later on stage. He's representing our district governor, Dr. Joe Kamau. And we also have Rotarian Joanne Sikand. I'll call on them shortly. Dr. Margaretta wanted the world to be a better place. A place with more compassion, kindness, understanding, peace, and justice. She had a passion to serve the underserved and to lead by example. Rotary gave her the platform to participate in initiatives where communities at large benefited from high-impact interventions. With a keenness to serve and a willingness to contribute, Dr. Margaretta, with her indefatigable spirit, participated in Rotary projects, from end polio initiatives to cancer awareness walks and webinars, interact literature competitions for the youth in high schools, bed kit and mattress distributions to the underserved, emergency response initiatives, eyesight screening programs, and she loved nature. She was very involved in tree planting initiatives and so much more. Dr. Margaretta, as we have witnessed today on screen and by various other individuals who have spoken, a phenomenal individual, came to Kenya over 50 years ago as a Rotary Ambassadorial Fellow from Chicago. She visited Rotary Club of Nairobi luncheon meetings at the Stanley Hotel. Now, many decades later after her arrival, in the year 2018, Dr. Margaretta joined the Rotary Club of Nairobi. Since 8 November 2018, the day of her induction into membership, she barely missed a weekly meeting and maintained an almost 100% attendance. During the year 2020, the club meetings continued virtually owing to the COVID pandemic. Dr. Margaretta, who was in Chicago, joined our then virtual meetings by having her alarm clock set to 4 a.m. Central Time Zone, owing to the time difference, to be amongst the first to log on to our weekly meetings and to greet everyone who logged on. She participated in multiple club committees and visited other clubs, and with great zeal was spreading the good word of the work being done locally and globally by Rotary. Whilst in Chicago, Dr. Margaretta used to join the weekly meetings at the Rotary Club of Evanston, the oldest and the very first Rotary Club in the world, where her brother, Rotarian Tom Swigert, is a past president. She worked diligently on various committees, including public relations, programs in getting us the finest speakers weekly, governance and ethics, international service, and so much more. During the year 2022-23, under the leadership of our then district governor, Azeb Asrat, Dr. Margaretta chaired the first of its kind fundraising art exhibition to raise funds for the Rotary End Polio Now initiative. The 7-day exhibition held at Serena Hotel, Nairobi, carefully curated by the doyen of the arts world, Dr. Margaretta wa Gacheru, featured art pieces by the finest artists in the subcontinent. I was honored and privileged to co-chair this wonderful initiative with Dr. Margaretta, and it was a very successful fundraiser, the Imagine Rotary fundraising initiative, together with past District Governor Azeb Asrat, Rotarian Janet Matenge, Rotarian Protas Lumiti, and many other Rotarians. Dr. Margaretta became friends with almost every member of the Rotary Club of Nairobi. She formed genuine friendships with individuals, was the first to condole members when we lost loved ones, and amongst the first to congratulate members on their achievements. And with congratulations always, she loved cake and she loved Black Forest. She had the most generous smile, and despite all her health challenges, she made it look so easy to make it evident that she's present with us at club meetings, at projects. She's a true embodiment of the Rotary motto, which is service above self. I would like to call upon past District Governor Leonard Idhau, who is representing our District Governor, Dr. Joe Kamal.
Thank you very much. We'd also like to ask Dr. Joe to keep it precise, and Joanne second as well. Thank you. Karibu Daktari.
Perfect. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Let me begin by stating that I am not Dr. Joe Kamau. My name is Leonard Idhau, and I am the immediate past district governor for Rotary International District 9212, which covers Kenya, Ethiopia, South Sudan, and Eritrea. As I walked up here, I realized that I was on this stage possibly 45 years ago or so, acting in a play written by Louise Kaigwa, and I think I saw her here earlier, called Endless Roads. That was my first and my last performance, and Margaretta wasn't there to critique it. Louise, take me back. I wish to begin by conveying the condolences and sentiments of our Rotary District Governor, Dr. Joe Kamau, the Rotary District leadership, and my fellow Rotarians, many who are here with us this evening. We feel the loss of a great personality, Rotarian Margaretta, a leader and an exemplary Rotarian. She was a true inspiration, a devout humanitarian, and we'll always remember her for her fondness. As past President Ritesh described, she came to Kenya almost 50 years ago as a Rotary Ambassadorial Fellow. Now, under this, Rotarians from clubs all over the world select scholars, as she was, to serve as ambassadors of goodwill between the people of their sponsoring and the host countries, in this case between the US and Kenya. It's a one-year fellowship, but as we have seen, 1 year turned into 50. And through that, she was assigned to the Rotary Club of Nairobi and eventually became one of its very active members. Ritesh has described the work and the activities that Rotarian Margaretta involved herself in. I want to speak specifically about one. The inaugural one-of-a-kind art exhibition that raised a net of over $10,000 for polio. To give context to this value, the cost of a vaccine for a child just required once is about 50 cents. So through her leadership of this event, over 20,000 children were permanently vaccinated against polio, giving them hope, giving them an opportunity to live their lives to the full. I remember Rotarian Margaretta specifically as district governor when I visited the club. And the district governor visits tend to be formal, they tend to be long. And Margaretta sat there together with Gitau and her oxygen, and she stayed through my long speech, the other longer speeches that were given, the lunch, and then the photography that took place later. If you remember past President Josephine here and past President Susan, she smiled, the smile that she has now. I will always remember that of Margaretta. Go well, our dear Rotarian Margaretta. You certainly were an embodiment of our motto, service above self. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Wow, Joanne, Sikand, this is your time. You will do your best.
I'll do my best. I knew my relationship with Dr. Margaretta is generational. My husband is here. She would cover my mother-in-law in the 1980s and the 1990s, in the early days of journalism and the nascent advocacy for constitutional rights in the country. And then we were colleagues together at Rotary, and she covered my books of poetry. And recently, last year, she covered a play that I had written with the University of Nairobi Traveling Theatre, Peace and Love. As we understand, Dr. Margaretta Wa Gacheru was born in Evanston, Illinois, in 1949. Those were very turbulent years in the United States of America because there was a lot of hatred and joy. Joy that the World War II was over, but hatreds because of the civil rights and the hatreds between black and white, the assassinations of John F. Kennedy and Dr. Martin Luther King are just two examples of how deep-rooted hatred can be. Also during that time was another hatred, which is closer to me, which was the Korean Civil War. And that was hatred between brother and sister. And my late father, the Dr. Reverend John Y. Pack, took a scholarship then at McCormick Theological Seminary, also in Evanston, Illinois. And Dr. Margaretta Wa Gacheru tells me that as a girl, she would ride her bicycle through McCormick Theological Seminary in Evanston because she was neighbors in the neighborhood. As we also know that Evanston is also the home of Rotary International, and that's how she got the scholarship to get to the University of Nairobi, that when she'd finished her master's in Chicago, her mother was by the Rotary International office in Evanston, told her about the scholarship, and clearly Margaretta took the scholarship. During one Rotary fellowship, the conversation was of love. And we shared this following reading from a book that my father had published as the final employee of the American Bible Society. And it comes from the Bible, is in all knowledge. And if I have all faith so as to remove mountains but have not love, I am nothing. If I give away all I have, and if I deliver my body to be burned, but have not love, I gain nothing. Love is patient and kind. Love is not jealous or boastful. It is not arrogant or rude. Love does not insist on its own way. It is not irritable or resentful. It does not rejoice at wrong, but rejoices in the right. Love bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Love never ends. As for prophecies, they will pass away. As for tongues, they will cease. As for knowledge, it will pass away. For our knowledge is imperfect and our prophecy is imperfect. But when the perfect comes, the imperfect will pass away. When I was a child, I spoke like a child. I thought like a child, I reasoned like a child. When I became a man, I gave up childish ways. For now we see in a mirror dimly, but then face to face. Now I know in part, then I shall understand fully, even as I have been fully understood. So faith, hope, love abide, these three, but the greatest of these is love. As a pastor, my father would preach that love is like the mustard seed. You plant the seed, it grows to a huge tree. Dr. Margaretta Wa Gacheru's love, her seeds in the arts, in the intellect, in service, will surely, surely grow into a massive forest, and we will all enjoy this forest together. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very, very much, John. Ladies and gentlemen, now to a second last solo performance of the evening. Kindly help me welcome Wakio Mzenge. Makofi kwa Wakio.
Wanapeperuka na ujasiri wakigusa mawingu wakienda. Oh, freedom, because freedom, that's lies inside, that's paradise.
My dear Mimi, my dear Margaretta, as much as we are fully aware that this life that we live in is not our final destination, if anybody would have told me that one day there would be a theater performance or an art exhibition and you wouldn't be part of it, I wouldn't have believed them. In this very unpredictable industry, one thing was predictable: your presence. And in this very moment, if we were all to close our eyes so tightly, perhaps we could still see you seated on that designated front row seat that everybody has spoken about, scribbling notes for your articles, shouting at guitar to give you interpretations, only shouting because everything else was loud. If by any chance this room could just have a pin drop silence, perhaps we'd still hear your machine buzzing, helping you to breathe, keeping you here with us. You came to this country and fell in love with its people, quite literally. You fell in love with its culture, You fell in love with its art. And you didn't stop there. You, Ninawa Migwe, you dedicated your entire life to consuming, archiving, reviewing, and reminding us of how beautiful our art is. My dear Margaretta, death is nothing at all, because you remain the same person you've always been to us. And even if you're out of sight, you will never be out of mind. You've just gone home where you came from. And as my people say, you can never go back home empty-handed. You may not go with the chocolates, candy, brownies, and artwork, theater pieces that you really enjoyed. But if you're to carry anything, please carry with you our utmost gratitude for the time that you shared with us. Thank you, Margaretta.
That's lies inside, that's paradise.
Thank you. Before we all met Margaretta, there are people who met her back in the day. I'd like to now welcome this long history friend, Dr. Mshai Mwangola. Please join us up on stage. Right after Dr. Mshai, karibu sana. Let's celebrate her as she comes on up. We will watch a video tribute from the amazing Professor Ngugi wa Thiong'o right after this.
Good evening, everyone. Oh, come on, we can do better than that. Margaretta would be like, they are so sad at my funeral celebration. My guys, good evening. Come on, let's let our love of Margaretta show. I'm going to do two things. One, I've been asked to do a very short tribute by the Creative Economy Working Group, so I'll start and end with that. But in between, I wanted, and it's so amazing that we just talked about love, because I wanted to talk about Margaretta as love personified. And that's on behalf of many, many friends, both here and abroad. So I'm going to do this. I've cut out a lot. As all of you are speaking, if people had said something, I cut it out. I will be writing an article, publishing an article on this, so just so that we can respect the time, because as we've heard, I can feel her over there saying, keep time, keep time, keep time. So from the Creative Economy Working Group, and this is by Professor Kimani Njogu, who chaired, the Creative Economy Working Group draws artists who are interested in policy from many different, all across the creative industries. I'm not going to read out their names to save time, but this is by Professor Kimani Njogu. Margaretta wa Gacheru was a committed member of the Creative Economy Working Group and contributed regularly to the policy, legislative, and regulatory dialogues towards the implementation of art and culture provisions in the Constitution of Kenya. She wrote incisive articles about the activities of the working group, including those related to the Jahazi Journal, and provided vital insights in our various memoranda of views to the National Assembly. Margaretta always turned up for the arts. She will be missed by the creative sector, but her name lives on. So I was going to speak on three things, and I'm going to just really put them down. But I wanted to start by saying, Margaretta was love personified. Margaretta came to us, as we have heard, from the US, from Evanston, Illinois, and she loved this country. She deeply loved this country. In 2022, when she was honored as a Shujaa on Mashujaa Day, as one of Kenya's Shujaas, she was so excited. It meant so much to her. And I don't know if you saw the picture where she's in green and a medal around her neck. That was how she was honored. And I remember we were joking about it. And she said, I am finally a daughter of this country. And I remember saying to her, you are not a daughter. You are the Mpenzi who joins a family and becomes a beloved matriarch who has earned her place to admonish, to encourage. You have taught us to love because you loved us first. And today you've had many, many testimonies of that. I was looking at a calendar by Tika, and this month, it was from 2017, it said, work is love made manifest. And Margaretta's love for Kenya is that she took a look at this country. Margaretta did not arrive here as a thespian, but she took a look at this country and found the sector that needed her. We say in the Constitution, culture is the foundation of this nation. And so Margaretta invested in this country by investing in culture. I believe she picked theater because theater in the 70s, in the 80s, was the villain of the arts sector. The state hated theater. And so Margaretta loved theater. And she made it her business to make manifest to this country consistently what work theater does. Not just as an industry, but as a voice of the oppressed, as a place through which we could pour out our hurt, our frustration, our joys, everything that made us human. And she did that labor for 50 years. And you heard earlier, when Margaretta started writing, the art critics did not write about we Kenyans, we African Kenyans, and our art. Margaretta was the first critic to go to schools, to go to churches, to come to professional productions that we were doing and say it matters. So for me, when I think of Margaretta and that award, and I want to thank the Kenya Cultural Center, because it is the Kenya Cultural Center that on behalf of us nominated Margaretta to be a Kenyan Mashujaa. So thank you. The second thing, there's a lot I could say about that. I'm going to leave it to the article. The second thing I want to say, and so many of you have said it, so I'm going to say this really briefly. Margaretta not only loved the work, and by the way, I should acknowledge, it wasn't just theater, it was the visual arts, and the visual arts because people thought that was a Muzungu art. So she made sure we knew it was not. She was a pillar of the women's movement in Kenya. She worked for the women's movement from the 70s. And I learned a lot about everything from the women's decade. A lot of the big names, you know, in the women's movement, talk to Margaretta, she's got the details. Viva Magazine. As women of Kenya, we stand and honor Margaretta as a feminist who contributed to who we are today. Now, the second thing I want to say is she did not only love the work, but you have heard it today. She loved the artists. She loved us deeply. I met Margaretta, I was calculating, 35 years ago. Margaretta knew me before I knew her. When she came up to me, I did not know that Margaretta had been watching me as a student. And when she first talked to me, I was with Theatre Workshop, and she told me, do not be one of those actresses who stop because you've left university. Please keep going. And like so many of you heard from Margaretta, she saw what was in you before you recognized it was special. And then she became a consistent cheerleader. Margaretta has come to my shows for 35 years, consistently. And the very last time I spoke to Margaretta was when I was doing a show at Baobab Box, which is, those of you who know that place, it's open. And up to the last minute, Margaretta was like, I want to come, but it's July, it's freezing. And I was like, Margaretta, don't come. And she's telling me, can you get someone to hold up a phone so that I can watch? Like, can you do a Facebook Live so I can watch? What was special about that, And I want to say this. First of all, many of you, I was shocked to hear you people saying she was a critic. She was harsh. Because I knew Margaretta as the most loving and most generous. And sometimes, I'm an academic, she's an academic, so I would tell her, Margaretta, you've got to be more exacting. You have to tell them the truth even if it is painful. But I learned a lesson from Margaretta, which was that Margaretta learned that the most effective way to mentor was to let people know what they did well and celebrate them. And really tell you how amazing and magnificent you are. Do more of that. And when she did tell you what went wrong, she had built the relationship to do that. And she never, ever, humiliated you in public. Unless, of course, as we heard, you deserved it. In which case, she was giving you a valuable lesson. So I thank Margaretta for all of us. I have so many stories, I'm not going to give them. But I thank Margaretta for loving us consistently and loving us in the best way possible. And finally, I want to end with the fact that Margaretta loved not just artists, but she loved us as people. Margaretta saw the human being, and you've heard testimonies of that. So what I'm going to do is give you the other side of it. So I was fortunate to do my graduate school in Evanston, Illinois. I had never heard of Evanston, Illinois until I went to Northwestern. One day I'm walking down Main Street, Evanston, Illinois, and I hear somebody yelling, this is the US, guys, from the other side of the street, Salim Wangola! I was like, oh my God, am I having hallucinations? Am I homesick? What's going on? And she kept yelling. I was so embarrassed until I turned and I was like, what is Margaretta doing here? Margaretta was in Evanston because her mother was ill. And so she had committed to go and be with her mother so that her mother would not have to go into a care home, so that her mother would be surrounded and be supported because Margaretta had been here all this time. Fellow Kenyans, that's when I began to discover how much Margaretta loved us, how much she gave up when we say she was here with us for 50 years. On the other side, there was a family where she was absent from or only able to connect with through letters and phone calls and things like that because she was committed to us. And during the time we were in Evanston, like I said, Margaretta showed up. Even my professor sent me a message to say Pole, because Margaretta was at every student show I did. At Northwestern, she was at Loyola, so it was down the street. They got to know Margaretta because Margaretta showed up. I want to say that when her mother died, we walked through that together. And it was the first time, I began to understand who Margaretta was, who her family was. Her family is well respected and prominent in Evanston. And when I went for her mother's funeral, I was like, oh my gosh, we take Margaretta as one of us, but Margaretta Swigert comes with a history, a space, a place in Evanston. And I remember going there and thinking, I'll just slip out. The church, huge church, was full. I thought I would just slip out. Margaretta made sure, on the day we were doing the memorial of her mother, to come looking for me, to make sure I went to her brother's home to be with her, because she felt it was important that this part of her, the Kenyan family, was with her in that family. So I want to say, and I want to end with this, I want to thank the people who saw Margaretta, who supported her, who saw the person. Gitau, you will always, always have a special part in all of our hearts. Because without you, we would not have had Margaretta at so many events. I remember calling her and saying, David Mulwa is being celebrated. Margaretta said, I'm coming. I asked her, Margaretta, it's not going to be Nairobi, we're going to his home. You made it possible for Margaretta to come out and be with us on that day. And when her oxygen was running out, I remember you saying, Margaretta, we have to go before your oxygen because we have to travel back. So thank you. I want to thank the Gacheru family folks, Margaretta loved you guys. I remember one day she's calling me, Margaretta's flying back to Kenya. She tells me, come to my house, bring your hips. I'm like, I'm sorry, what? She says, I need African hips to sit on this suitcase so it will close. So I go over and I'm like, Margaretta, what's all this stuff? Why are you taking so much stuff to Kenya? And she said, because I want to make sure that everybody in the family gets something. Can you believe that? She was throwing out the stuff, her own clothes, to make room for more gifts. So Gacherus, she loved you. I remember one of you coming over and Margaretta fighting a fight with her condominium because they have said a non-family member can only stay for 14 days. And Margaretta telling the business, whatever, but this is my daughter. And I could tell that person is looking at her like, there's no way this woman is your daughter. No way. Migwi we accept, but this one. And Margaretta, small Margaretta stood her ground. She said, as long as somebody needs me, I will be there. And then Lisa, I want to say how much Margaretta loved you guys. I always looked forward to seeing her drive up in her little car that said Mama Migwi, because she was that proud. She got a license plate that said that. And I want you to know how proud and happy she was of you. When she told me you were getting married, her one thing was she said, now these Americans will make me wear black, but I want to wear something multicolored so they know how excited. I am going to be a mother-in-law, and I want to be the best mother-in-law so that she knows how much I love her. So thank you, because you guys have sacrificed so much so that we could have her. And thank you for staying. When Migwi went back, I know your heart went with him. But you have loved us the way she loved us. Our beloved daughter-in-law, sister-in-law, our mpenzi. So you stayed. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Let's give it up to Dr.
Let me just do
Mshai.
one more thing, and I want to do this because I think it's important. Alume wo. Come on, men. You can do better. We are sending off Margaretta from here. Men. Alume wo. Ladies, let's show them how it is done. Ache hoya. Thank you, my sister.
Thank you, Dr. Mshai. And now, thank you. Let's turn our attention to the screen for Margaretta wa Gacheru's lecturer.
My name is Goge. My name is Goge. And this is my tribute to Margaretta wa Gacheru. To Margaretta wa Gacheru. I first met her. In the literature department of the University of Nairobi in the early 70s. The department was the first in the world to challenge the dominance of English, the dominance of literature, English in the study of literature. Argued for the principle of Africa at the center of Africa being at the center of our being, from Africa to the world, from Africa the world to the world to Africa, the world back to our position began to attract students and began to attract students even beyond scholars the borders of Kenya, beyond the borders of Kenya. In this way, interested of looking at this way of looking at Margaretta would later marry. Margaretta would later marry. Always centered Kenya. And she always centered Kenya in her writing. Africa in her writing. I recall a moment I'll never forget. A moment I'll never forget. It was 1978. It was 1978. I'd just come back home had just a year and committed a year security prison, maximum security prison. Hilengweno, then editor, Hilengweno, of the weekly review for which she worked, of the weekly review for which she worked, sent her to my home in Limuru to interview me. He sent her with a set of questions. He sent her various set of questions. Very hostile. In their implications, in their both implications, the government, both and now the Kenyatta government, were right to send government to prison. Were right to send because of my prison communist, because of my or communist specifically or Maoist specifically inclination, Maoist inclinations. The questions were really a kind of questions, prosecution were really a kind of on behalf prosecution of the regime, on behalf of the Moi regime. I was surprised because Hilary Ngweno, I was surprised because Hilary Ngweno and I had once worked together, and I had once worked together for the Nation newspaper. I told Margaretta that if Margaretta wanted to interview Ngweno, wanted to interview so in person. He should do and so not through in Margaretta, and not through Margaretta. She tore up the questions. She tore up the questions. Her own interview. She did her own interview. I want to be forthright with able to be forthright with her. She remained that kind of journalist. She remained writer. That kind of journalist, critical writer, but fair. Critical, informative, but also having having a strong point of view. That view was always on the side of democracy. Always on the side of democracy, seeking justice, and the people and fairness, seeking justice and fairness. Margaretta, rest. Margaretta, your good work will always speak. Your good work for you will always speak. Your body has left us. Your body but has left us. Your spirit but dwells. Your spirit dwells always among us. Always.
A round of applause, please, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much. That is Professor Ngugi wa Thiong'o. Now, thank you very much for your patience so far. Now we'd like to invite art organizations and art champions led by Fedari. Kindly, Fedari, come forward to do one of the final two tributes. So Fedari will invite the others. Karibu.
Okay. All right, thank you. So luckily, I'm a man of few words, so I'll be quick. I'm Fedario Yagi. I'm representing Creative Edge, as well as myself as a former director of the Kitchfest Trust, because I worked with Margaretta so closely. The story of Margaretta is a long one. We may not finish it in one day, in one event. But I know for certain that we'll be telling Margaretta's story for the longest time to come. In 2021, we launched the Kenya Theatre Awards. And when we were launching the Kenya Theatre Awards as the leader, we had a challenge of ensuring the jury remembers all the plays they have watched throughout the year, so that when they're doing their final jury conference, they're able to recall everything. So for this reason, I had to introduce some technology so they can work with it after every performance, reflect during the jury conference. And this was not easy for Margaretta, as you'd imagine. She was used to her notebook, her shorthand notes as a journalist for all those years. And on one day, you've heard people say Margaretta worked late at night. So one day she calls me at 1 a.m. Luckily, I was just awake and I'm wondering, why is Margaretta calling me at 1 a.m.? I know for sure I'm not in her emergency contacts. Like, it didn't make sense. So I picked up the call. I'm like, Margaretta, hi, how are you? And Margaretta was mad on the other side of the line. So I was like, Fedari, I don't know how to do this. This is hard. I can't find this link. I can't find the password. I can't find this. And Margaretta was fuming. She was furious. So I tried to calm her down. I took her through what she needed to do, and she did it successfully. So the next day, we were meeting, and I kept questioning myself, is this really the right solution for this need? What else can we do to ensure that the likes of Margaretta and the other jury members have an easy time to do this process? So I came to Margaretta and I asked her, Margaretta, I'm sorry about last night. Oh, no, it's okay. I'm like, no, wait. I'm really sorry, but I also like us to find a solution for next time, because if this is too difficult, I don't want to force it on you. And she was like, it's true, Fedari. Your system is difficult. It's hard to use. I'm like, I'm sorry, so what do you do? And then she said, it's difficult, but it's good. It's important. We need it. And at that moment, I felt so challenged. I was looking at this lady. She's elderly. She's struggling with technology, but she's willing to embrace it because she sees the value of using that system. And from that day on, I was really, really challenged. And naturally, Margaretta became my friend. I'm trying to skip through. So what I would like to say is that Margaretta lived her life to live it and not just get by, something that I think all of us can borrow from Margaretta. Yeah. She lived with energy, even when she was frail and seemingly unable to go on, especially after the pelvic accident. I knew that was it. Margaretta is not coming to shows anymore. And then the next weekend, she's there with guitar to the shows, and I was looking at her, amazed. And she stood firm with our programs and our courses as the Kid Fest Trust. She was a champion of everything we did, and we had so many shortcomings, as you'd imagine, but Margaretta was there just, cheering us on, telling us, you're doing good, you keep doing this. And if I'm being honest, the Kenya Theatre Awards we know today will not be the Kenya Theatre Awards if we didn't have the privilege of having Margaretta as a member of our first jury. We were coming from the Corona period. Everything was uncertain. Everyone was unsure of everything. And the history of theater awards we've had were not so encouraging. And every time you call producers like, hey, my name is so-and-so, I'm calling from the Kenya Theatre Awards, we'd like to come and watch your shows. And they were like, there was some reluctance. But the moment you mentioned that Margaretta was part of the jury and she was coming, then suddenly they were like, okay, come. And it really helped us set up the Kenya Theatre Awards. Even after I retired from the Kid Fest Trust, of course, we'd meet Margaretta everywhere. We'd meet each other. And the one thing Margaretta kept telling me is that, Fedari, come back. We miss you. And she kept repeating this every time. Immediately she greets me. Hi, how are you? Come back, we miss you. Come back, we miss you. And I was having a conversation the other day with someone, and I told, I wish I could tell that to Margaretta right now, because her seat is right there. And like someone said, you'd hear her oxygen tank buzzing, and you'd imagine that will sound like noise, but when you're in this audience as a theater lover and a practitioner, there's a sense of comfort and honor that comes to you every time you hear zzz, Margaretta is in the house. And it used to be very comforting and lovely just hearing that sound. And unfortunately, the weeks or months leading to her passing on, she kept asking me, Fedari, come visit me, come for a cup of tea. There's something I'd like to talk to you about. And we kept postponing, and it never really happened. So on this fateful Thursday, Gitau calls me, and after he greets me like, Fedari ni aje? I'm like, Papa Gitau, unasemaje? Ati, hey, Margaretta has been calling you for a meeting, but you've never come. And in that moment, I was like, Gitau, you know what? let's schedule it for next week. Give me a day. Yeah, Margaretta always invited people to come on a Tuesday. So I was willing to go the next Tuesday. And Gitau tells me, unfortunately, that's not going to happen. And I was wondering if death is not the first thing that comes to mind. And I wanted to ask Gitau, is she traveling? Is she going back to the US? You know, there's all these other things. You imagine all these scenarios. And then he tells me, Margaretta has rested. I'm still in that moment. For me, it was a big shock. My heart broke. I felt like what I'd imagine you feel if like 100 daggers were driven into your heart, because we've not only lost a friend to everyone, but a great lover and champion of everything that we do. It's a big, big gap that we may never feel. But if we've known Margaretta, and for the love that we have for Margaretta, I think we are challenged to do everything in our power, everything we are able to do to respect and honor her legacy and to keep doing what she loved doing. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Fedari. I'd also like to invite Harsita Waters. Harsita. Olwal Dickens also is Harsita with us. Good. Thank you very much. I'd also like to ask Olwal to be on standby. Karibu sana.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Let me start by saying a really big thank you to all the speakers who have shared snippets of Margaretta's life with us, beautiful memories that she lives us with. But before I make some formal remarks on behalf of the Alliance Française here, I'd also like to invite the current director of the Alliance Française, Charles Courdon, to come on stage with me. He will be representing the Republic of France on stage. Yes. Margaretta had a very good relationship, a long-standing relationship with the French Cultural Center and the Alliance Française. So it's just fitting that Charles is here. So while I speak on behalf of the institution of the Alliance Française, I want to say that Margaretta herself was an institution. Her documentation of the history of the art scene in Kenya, going back 50 years. That is her legacy that she lives for every one of us. So, we bring greetings from the Alliance Française board and the staff and the French embassy, and we join you all in celebrating the gift that Margaretta was to all of us and to Kenya. Her boundless energy and a positive spirit and the wisdom that she carried with us all the time will be missed. She was very, very encouraging to all the artists. There was a few years when she was in the US, finishing a PhD, whereby there was a lull in the local dailies because we didn't have many people reporting on the arts and culture then. So it was a real pleasure that when she came back, we were able at the Alliance Française to host her book, her publication, which was called Contemporary African Arts, Art Networks in Urban Kenya, 1960 to 2000. So she was a book herself on the evolution of the arts and culture in Kenya. And she was a real supporter of the women in arts. She was so happy to have been invited several times at the Alliance Française to curate women's arts shows to mark the International Women's Day. So she was forever grateful. And when we used to host the European Film Festival, so I know that she was a critic of the theater and the visual arts, etc., but she loved cinema as well. And over the years, she'd come back every time to say, so when's the European Film Festival coming back? When's the European Film Festival coming back? And so what everyone said, she was always on a boda in 5 places in the same day, everywhere, and she'd walk from, when she was fit and healthy, she'd walk from the nation to the Alliance Française to have a cup of coffee with us. She'd bring us sweetness and we'd share, what's happening on the scene and just share memories and share friendship, and it was just wonderful. So thank you, Margaretta, and thank you, everyone, for sharing all those beautiful tributes to Margaretta. Thank you. Charles, you want to say a few words?
It is not planned. I just would like to tell you that I'm officially in a paternity leave. My little baby, Sophia, was born on 8th of August. And tonight, I realize that it is the day Margaretta passed away. I pray, my God, all our gods, that something of Margaretta will be in my little baby Sofia. Asante sana.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, our final solo act performance of the evening, the poet Mufasa.
The last time I saw Margaretta was after a play. I was in a play with Mudamba and Sitawa. And I remember Margaretta told me, that show needed you. You gave it something unique, something different. And I was like, ooh, I was so proud of myself. And you know why? Because if there's one thing that Margaretta never did, was massage people's ego. She always told you the truth. And for years, her truth has been the backbone to the growth of our art. So in the spirit of Margaretta, I will tell the truth. Truth is, on the first day, the Father in heaven said, "Let there be light." Right? On the first day, the founding father of our nation said, "Let there be lies." And every president who came after him found lies to be good, so they kept people in the dark. On the second day, the founding father of our nation grabbed and shared land amongst friends to create people who were above others, just like God separated the sky from the earth, or what art to see. See, on the third day, now this is where it becomes about waters. On the third day, the founding father of our nation created a system that did not need to account to citizens. That has trickled down to today. Remember Kimwarer? Remember the dams? They blew down money, but does anyone give a damn? Just to remind you, on the third day, God did not give a damn. He gave us oceans and lakes and seas with water that did not cease. Now on the fourth day, the Father in heaven created the sun. On the fourth day, the founding father of our nation created a sun. And just like the moon and the stars, there was no limit to what his son could be, what he could do. I mean, look at what he did. He created a bird. His team was birds, vultures. Ooh, birds. That's the fifth day, right? On the sixth day, God made man. On the sixth day, the founding father of a nation made man carnivorous. It's a man-eat-man society. Politics is how politicians become rich and how people become subjects of lessons they have never learned from. Check the newspapers. If it's not news, if it's not on the cover, people make the cover make the news. It's not undercover when it's on the front page. On the seventh day, the Father in heaven rested. On the seventh day, the founding father of our nation did not. He made sure iniquity, tribalism, and corruption rested within us. 10, we vote in leaders because of their second names. 10, we forgot Pio Gama Pinto did not need a second name. 9, before I was born, corruption married my country. At the wedding, my grandmother was the kid with flowers and no speech to read. 9, Mr. Politician, before you sponsor your Facebook page, 1,000 likes won't make you the leader we like. Sometimes it makes you the source of something we need to be led from. 8, who teaches the police about rights when they're never wrong? 8, which is the right side of history? 7, My cousin says to have locks on your head is a sign of freedom. 7, in my country, the term youth is used by politicians. Every time they're about to pretend like they care. 6, the Constitution is to be learned in schools. If we can't all grow up in the right way, at least let's grow up knowing what is right anyway. 5 years ago, I didn't care who my mother voted for. 4, I need my mother to vote like her vote can change my nephew's future. 3, there is no special village or town where leaders come from. These leaders come from within us. These leaders are a reflection of who we are. So 2, change won't come when our leaders change. Change will come when we, the people, change. 1, I have a dream. One day, we vote in leaders, not because of where we come from, but because of where we are going. If only we could see what we could do. If only we could see what we could do. Let me hear you. If only we could see what we could do. I can't hear you. If only we could see what we could do. Yes, if only we could see what we could do. Louder! If only we could see what we could do. Come on now, if only we could see what we could do. Hey, if only we could see what we could do. Ah, if only we could see what
we could do. If only we could see what we could do. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for Mufasa. If only we could see what we could do. We won't say that much. So for final tribute, ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome Michael Pundo, the Executive Director and CEO of the Kenya Cultural Center. Thank you. As it comes, I'd also like to acknowledge all of you who are still with us for your patience. Almost there. Thank you. Karibu.
Thank you so much. Time is fast spent, but I want to thank all of you for coming in to share this wonderful moment as we give tribute to a person we consider one of our own. And so, ladies and gentlemen, today we honor an exceptional individual who has left an enduring legacy on the Kenya art scene. She was many things to many people: a mother, a theater critic, an inspiration, a promoter, and a Rotarian who believed in service to humanity. Sitting here and listening to tributes on this stage gives life to the famous line we all know, that all the world is a stage, and all men and women are merely players. They have their exits and entries, and one man in his time plays many parts. It is true to note that Margaretta exits this stage having played many parts, and in all those parts, she was the lead role. Margaretta wa Gacheru was a true advocate for the arts, a prolific writer whose reviews of theater and visual arts elevated the standards of creativity in this country. Her works were often featured in the Kenya Cultural Center's monthly newsletter, showcasing her dedication and passion for the arts. She challenged us to strive for excellence, and her voice was instrumental in shaping the narrative of Kenyan art, ensuring it received the recognition it deserved. At some point, when the first list of the Kenya Theatre Awards jury was shared with me for my final comments, I saw the name Margaretta wa Gacheru. And I asked my officer whether he were going to benefit out of Margaretta owing to her age, knowing that the task ahead was enormous. And I was convinced that she is more than dedicated. And truly, having listened to the chair of the KTA, Margaretta was very dedicated to the task. It is because of her dedication that in 2022, when I petitioned the National Heroes Nominating Committee to also include theatre practitioners in the recognition of Kenyan heroes and heroines, Margaretta got a chance to be a beneficiary of that particular nomination. And so today, Margaretta exits the stage a shujaa in the creative scene. We are proud as Kenya Cultural Center that it was our little contribution to honor Margaretta wa Gacheru as among the first theatre practitioners to be honored as the Kenyan heroes and heroines. This ceremony has presented a great opportunity to celebrate Margaretta's contribution in the creative industry. As we gather in her honor, let us remember how she championed the arts with passion, intellect, and grace. Let's also be encouraged to engage in activities that will ensure the continued growth and success of the creative industry. Let's work hard to realize her vision of a Kenyan theatre industry that would be the Broadways and the West End of Africa. And that then means we must up our game so that we fulfill her ambition to see world-class theatre performances. Her legacy will continue to live on through many artists, writers, and creatives whom she inspired. Her presence will be profoundly felt, her absence will be profoundly felt by all who knew her and worked with her. Finally, I want to sincerely thank the community of thespians, artists, and lovers of art for gathering here today so that we may celebrate a heroine of the Kenyan theatre scene. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, Margaretta wa Gacheru, Shujaa Margaretta wa Gacheru, exits the stage, having given the Kenyan theatre artists a bigger stage. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Michael. And finally, ladies and gentlemen, this show hasn't been performed in the last 5 years, but came back on stage last weekend. It'll be on next weekend. Here is an all-new cast for the amazing Sarafina. And pass. Let's do this.
This is
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Thank you very much. Margaretta would have loved that, right? Kerry, we call it a night.
Let's call it a night. Thank you for everyone who doesn't have a curfew and everyone who is going to help us light up the candle. I hope this is a candle crew that has remained back, right?
Hopefully so.
Did anyone go home with their candle? That is so disrespectful. Seriously, though.
Yes.
But I had, where's Gito? Hi.
Still here.
Sasa. I think we had a moment after in Feb.
Yeah.
What was that?
In February.
February. Yeah.
What is going on in
We
February?
asked you if we could pray for Margaretta. Do you remember?
Legacy.
No.
Eh.
In Feb.
Okay, keep
after
going.
After KIT Awards.
KTA.
When was
Kenya
that?
Theatre Awards.
It was somewhere in March, Feb. Do you remember? What?
The 29th of February.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was so awkward because I brought a pastor to a theater event. And when he saw Margaretta, he called me on the side. It's like, hi, can we go ask her if we can pray for her? And I'm like, me, I'm a pastor. I've never thought about pray. Like, I pray for her. I mean, I love her. But he made us actually go to her car.
Yeah.
And we were like, can we pray for her? And he's like, yeah, ask her. And so we went to her window, can we pray for you? She's like, yeah. And we prayed. And I think this is the answered prayer.
This is the answered prayer.
Thank you. Before I bore you any further, it's time for us to close tonight. And we just want to do a quick vote of thanks.
Yes.
And then go outside for the candle lighting ceremony.
Yes.
And then we'll wind down also with a very short reading from Kevin, who's currently in London.
A final bow has been taken. Oh, Captain, my Captain, rest easy. Thank you to everyone who's chosen to stay as long. Margaretta saw us. So thank you for your time. And thank you for loving her, for seeing her, and for honoring her with your words this evening. After this, we shall get our candles and just for about 5 minutes gather around the great tree. And we shall have her portrait face the Kenya National Theatre, for she will always be seated in the audience. Oh, Captain, my Captain, rest easy. See you outside, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for your time.
Okay. Natamani kujua what your plot is. Ata landlord upeana notice. Akimaulana ingilia kati. Peace ni expensive but worth it. Kwa nini uliamua kutangolea? Diet yangu imechange, tabia kulea, usingizi na kutamani kushoto kulia. Unakuja lini? Nitabasamu tena. Unanitenda aliyekuchukua sijui nani alimtuma. Maombi ni ati wakati rudi nyuma. Jioni nikirudi nikupate kwa nyumba. Jiji zimeshikana ni ngumu kuvunja, but kauna raka nenda kwanza. Niko na iBag sijalala, na usalimie Maulana.
Safiri salama, salimu Maulana, tutaonana baadaye. Oh, safiri salama, salimu Maulana, tutaonana baadaye. Ndio tutaonana baadaye. Oh, nakama mpendwa, tabasamu, tutaonana baadaye. Oh, nakama mpendwa, tabasamu, tutaonana baadaye. Ndio pendo tabasamu, tutaonana baadaye. Uliniwacha mimi bila fahamu kuwa ni yako zamu, angalau ungeniambia eti unakam, nitulize hamu wangu wa dhati. Tamaa zangu zimenikwamia.
Fiona.